At the end of August, Garmin released the highly anticipated Fenix 8. However, alongside this watch, they also launched another model that has somewhat been overshadowed by the Fenix 8 but might actually be the better choice, the Garmin Enduro 3. Not only is this watch more affordable than the Fenix 8, but it also offers several advantages in comparison. I have thoroughly tested both the Fenix 8 and the Enduro 3. You can find a very detailed review of the Fenix 8 on my channel, and in this video we will now focus on the Enduro 3. I'll show you all the pros and cons of this watch and explain why it might even be the better Fenix 8. So let's dive right in, have fun. The Enduro series in general isn't really a standalone product line from Garmin, but has always been an extension of the Fenix lineup. The Enduro 1 was a variant of the Fenix 6X, the Enduro 2 was an alternative to the Fenix 7X, and now the Enduro 3 has been released alongside the Fenix 8. The main selling point of the Enduro has always been its superior battery life compared to the Fenix. The name Enduro likely derives from endurance, which makes sense given its focus on battery life. And we will talk more about battery life shortly, especially in direct comparison with the Fenix 8. But first, let's discuss the quality and build of the watch. The Fenix 8 comes in both AMOLED and MIP solar versions, with various sizes to choose from in each variant. Garmin makes the choice much simpler with the Enduro 3, or rather there is no choice at all as this watch comes in only one version. It's the same size as the largest version of the Fenix 8 with a 51mm case. However, it is slightly thicker due to the larger battery. The AMOLED version of the Fenix 8 is 14.7mm thick, the MIP version is 15.4mm, and the Enduro 3 is slightly thicker at 15.7mm. Overall, this watch is quite hefty and bulky, so it might not be the best choice for smaller wrists, at least in terms of appearance. However, I still find it very comfortable to wear, and surprisingly it is even lighter than the Fenix 8. The case itself weighs 57 grams, which doesn't make it the lightest watch out there, but for comparison, the 51mm MIP version of the Fenix 8 weighs 67 grams. What makes it particularly comfortable and noticeably lighter than the Fenix 8 is the included nylon strap. This is my personal favorite for sports watches because it's super light, sits comfortably on the wrist and is easily adjustable. The strap only weighs 6 grams, whereas the standard silicone strap of the Fenix 8, for example, weighs almost 30 grams. To be fair, the Fenix 8 also offers a leather strap and a metal strap as options, and you can easily swap out the bands, so I could use the nylon strap for my Enduro 3 on my Fenix 8 if I wanted to. Still, it's a nice bonus that this strap comes standard with the Enduro 3. Additionally, as mentioned, the Fenix 8 is available in both AMOLED and MIP versions, while the Enduro 3 only comes in one version with an MIP display. The MIP display of the Enduro 3 is transflective, meaning it doesn't emit light actively but instead reflects ambient light. As a result, it's a bit dimmer indoors or in darker environments and generally less colorful than AMOLED displays, but it excels in sunlight where it's very easy to read. The Enduro 3 also features the solar technology with a solar ring around the display. In the Enduro 2 there was an additional solar lens over the actual display, which slightly reduced readability. This lens has been removed in the Enduro 3, making the display easier to read. At the same time, the solar ring around the display has been made wider, which should make the solar system even more effective, ultimately benefiting battery life, a topic we'll cover in more detail shortly. In terms of appearance, the watch is very similar to the Fenix 8 and also very similar to the Enduro 2. The watch is mainly made of plastic, the bezel is made of titanium, while the back of the case is not, in contrast to the Fenix 8, which is another reason for the lighter weight. But still, the watch is very robust, high quality and durable. We also have these yellow accents that we've seen before on the Enduro 2, which distinguish it a bit from the Fenix 8, most notably on the pre-installed watch face, but especially as a protective element around this button. Regarding the build, there are two significant differences to the Fenix 8, which also hint at how both watches differ in terms of their features and functions. First, the Enduro 3 does not have the protective element on the right side that the Fenix 8 does, which is primarily there to protect the built-in microphone. This is because the Enduro 3 does not have a microphone. Additionally, the buttons on the Fenix 8 are so-called inductive buttons. These are fully waterproof, making the watch suitable for dives up to 40 meters. The Enduro 3 does not have these buttons either. The Fenix 8 was introduced with two key hardware innovations. First, it can now be used as a dive computer, making it suitable suitable for dives up to 40 meters and offering many diving features in the training modes for scuba diving, free diving and snorkeling. Second, the Fenix 8 has a built-in microphone and speaker allowing you to make calls, listen to or record voice messages, play music directly from the watch and most importantly, use voice assistants. The Enduro 3 skips these two hardware innovations, so these are the main differences compared to the Fenix 8. This is also reflected in the price. The Fenix 8 costs $1,000 in its cheapest version and up to $1,200 in the most expensive one. The Enduro 3 on the other hand costs $900, making it at least $100 cheaper in any case. However, the fairest comparison would likely be with the 51mm MIP Fenix 8, which costs $1,200, $300 more than the Enduro 3. So if you don't need the diving features, like me, because I'm not a diver, and if you can do without all the voice assistants and stuff like this, which to be honest also applies to me, then the Garmin Enduro 3 is likely the better deal for you, especially considering it also has a better battery life. And this is what we'll discuss now. When talking about one of Garmin's Enduro watches, we have to talk about the battery life because this has always been one of the main selling points of these watches, and the Enduro 3 is no exception to that. Garmin provides different estimates for various scenarios. To make a fair comparison with the Fenix 8, we should only consider the 51mm versions. The AMOLED model of the Fenix 8 is said to last up to 29 days in smartwatch mode or 13 days with always on mode. The MIP version is supposed to last up to 30 days or up to 48 days with solar, and the Enduro 3 takes it up a notch with up to 36 days or an incredible 90 days with solar, so that's a huge difference. By the way, Garmin's estimates assume 3 hours of outdoor use at 50,000 lux, which now in the summer is easily achievable, and even on clear winter days this should be manageable. In GPS mode with multiband, the AMOLED Fenix 8 is set to last up to 62 hours or 49 hours with always on. The MIP version up to 52 hours or 65 hours with solar, and the Enduro 3 up to 60 hours or 90 hours with solar. Additionally, as we know from Garmin's outer watches, there are extra battery saving modes like the maximum GPS battery mode, where the Enduro 3 can last up to 210 hours, or the expedition mode where up to 77 days are possible. In both modes, the watch is actually supposed to last infinitely with solar. All of this sounds very promising, but how does the battery life of the Garmin Enduro 3 actually hold up in practice, and how big is the difference compared to the Fenix 8? I now have the Fenix 8 in the 47mm AMOLED version, so the comparison isn't very fair, but I'll still show you how the battery life of the Enduro 3 performs in practice. For instance, here I went for a run with both watches using the multiband GPS for about an hour. It was very cloudy that day and it was already evening, so the solar feature couldn't really come into play. Nevertheless, the Enduro 3 only lost 2.18% of battery per hour, which means it would last over 45 hours. In comparison, my Fenix 8 lost 3.27% per hour, so it would last a good 30 hours. Then I wanted to take advantage of what were probably the last days of sunshine this year, and of course I wanted to test the solar feature of the Enduro 3. I ran cycling for just over an hour, again with multiband GPS. The solar ring definitely did its job here, as the watch only lost 1.09% of battery per hour, meaning it would last almost 92 hours, which aligns very well with Garmin's claim of 90 hours with solar. The Fenix 8 lost 3% per hour, allowing for 33 hours. I also wanted to see how the batteries of both watches would perform in the gym, where no GPS is needed, but where the solar feature also can't be used. Here the Enduro 3 again lost only 1.09% of battery per hour compared to the Fenix 8's 1.71%. Under these circumstances, the watch would also last close to 92 hours. Certainly many more tests could be done here. It would even be more useful to compare it to the 51mm MIP Fenix 8, which I unfortunately don't have at the moment. But ultimately, we can conclude that the battery life of the Enduro 3 is even better than the already impressive battery life of the Garmin Fenix 8. This is especially noticeable in sunlight, where the Enduro 3's solar panel comes into play. We've already discussed which features the Garmin Enduro 3 lacks compared to the Fenix 8, especially the diving functionality as well as the microphone and speaker and all of the associated features like the voice assistants. But now let's focus on which features the Enduro 3 does offer. Because don't worry, the Enduro 3 still boasts an impressive functionality. If you've already seen my review of the Fenix 8, much of what we'll talk about now will sound familiar to you, but I still want to introduce you to the many great features of the Garmin Enduro 3. Firstly, unlike the Enduro 2, the Enduro 3 comes with a new software and most notably a new interface. When scrolling through the widgets, you'll notice that they've been slightly redesigned in terms of appearance and color, but more importantly, everything is now more organized. Garmin has grouped some widgets into overarching categories. For example, under health, you'll find all your daily health data, such as the body battery, which shows your body's energy reserves, a sleep analysis widget, a sleep coach, and other stats and data that fall under health, such as heart rate variability, steps, blood oxygen saturation, and calories. You can also add more widgets if needed, so a useful example would be the health snapshot, where a quick 2-minute test captures all your key health metrics at once. You can dive into each of these widgets to find more detailed information, make adjustments, and so on. Beyond health, you'll find the point training, where you'll find all training related widgets such as training readiness, VO2 max, lactate threshold, or race predictions. It also includes a list of your recent activities, the hill score, and endurance metrics. Again, you can add additional widgets if you like. All these features are familiar from previous Garmin watches, with the only real difference being the more organized layout. The structure when you press the upper right button is also new. One click takes you directly to activities, and further down you'll find general apps like maps, phone, or music. As for activities, there are hundreds of training profiles, including triathlon or multisport, open water swimming, golf, skiing, and much more. So almost no one should be left wanting, except for divers, for whom, as mentioned, the Fenix 8 is designed. There is also an exciting new feature for strength athletes. In addition to running and cycling, there are now specialized training plans for strength training as well. You can specify your goals, such as building muscle mass and what equipment you have available, and the watch will then suggest different training plans. You'll see all the relevant information and can set up the plan, which will then be available on the watch. The watch also offers animated workouts directly on the screen, showing cardio, strength, yoga, or Pilates exercises. When it comes to tracking workouts, the Enduro 3 provides Garmin's full suite of analytical tools, so there's nothing you can't really track with this watch. This includes the basics like distance, pace, and heart rate, and extends to advanced features like ground contact time, vertical ratio, running power, and more. Live stamina data is also included again, showing your short-term and long-term energy reserves during training. Advanced features like Pace Pro for better route planning and optimal pacing, as well as Climb Pro for managing energy during hill segments are also present. During training, the design has been slightly modified as well, so by default the touchscreen is disabled, but you can activate it by scrolling down, and it turns off again after a few seconds of inactivity. There are 3 levels. The middle level consists of data fields which you can scroll through, and swiping right brings us to the music player, where you can control your music. Speaking of which, the watch offers 32 GB of storage for loading and listening to music offline. Swiping left takes you to a settings menu where you can change the sport mode, adjust settings, and especially access navigation options, which we'll discuss in detail shortly. Overall, I find this menu layout more intuitive and less cluttered. In summary, the Enduro 3 offers virtually everything a sports enthusiast could desire in terms of sports and training features. The Enduro 2 was essentially the counterpart to the Fenix 7, which was followed by the Fenix 7 Pro, and now we have the Fenix 8 with the Enduro 3 as its counterpart. Between the Fenix 7 Pro and the Fenix 8, aside from the 2 major hardware innovations we discussed earlier, there were only minor software tweaks like the new interface. So the Enduro 3 is pretty much on par with the Fenix 7 Pro in terms of the features, but with the new software and interface of the Fenix 8. Let's move on to the topics of GPS and navigation. The history of the Enduro watches in this regard is quite interesting. The Enduro 1, which was released as a complement to the Fenix 6X, offered better battery life but lacked topographic maps and many navigation features. However, since the watch was otherwise designed as an outdoor sports watch, the absence of these features wasn't well received by its target audience. So the Enduro 2 addressed this by including navigation features and topographic maps, and of course the Enduro 3 continued continues this trend. Once again, this watch is a fully capable navigation system, offering detailed topographic maps with street names, points of interest and much more. It's also routing capable, meaning you can create new routes directly on the watch. So if you ever get lost, the watch can calculate new routes, or you can navigate to the nearest gas station, for example. Additionally, the watch features the round-trip routing, where you can set a specific distance you want to cover, and the watch will suggest various routes that can take you from and back to your starting point with exactly this distance. This is particularly useful when you are in an unfamiliar area. New to this feature is the dynamic round-trip routing, which just means that if you deviate from the suggested route, the watch can recalculate it. The up ahead feature, on the other hand, is familiar already. It allows you to set specific waypoints along your route, such as restaurants, first aid stations, or gas stations. The watch will then show you which waypoints are coming up next and how far away they are. Additionally, you can quickly change map settings by switching from the Topo Active map to a base map, activating ski maps, turning contour lines on or off, and much more. During your workouts, you can also display data fields alongside the map on the same screen. The GPS is of course closely related to navigation. The Enduro 3, just like the Fenix 8, features multiband GPS, which is known for its high accuracy. But how accurately does the Enduro 3 track my routes? On this run through both urban and forest areas, the watch performed very well. It didn't cut corners, didn't track through buildings, and accurately mirrored the path I ran. During a longer bike ride, the recording was also very precise. Again, no corners were cut, and the watch was once again very accurate and reliable. In my final and most challenging test, I always head into the forest and walk a very narrow path back and forth over the exact same route. As we can see here, the Enduro 3 recorded it very accurately, with both segments overlapping almost perfectly. The watch uses the same GPS chip as the Fenix 8, where I had already observed excellent GPS accuracy. So unsurprisingly, but still worth mentioning, the Enduro 3 is also very accurate. I also tested the accuracy of the optical heart rate measurement. The Enduro 3 now uses a new sensor compared to the Enduro 2, although it's the same sensor used in last year's Fenix 7 Pro and now also in the Fenix 8. So similar results should be expected, but the accuracy of heart rate measurement also depends on many other factors such as the design, thickness or weight of the watch, which do vary slightly. I compared the data for both the Fenix 8 and the Enduro 3 with a chest strap for all of my training sessions, and here you can see the results. When it comes to running, there's nothing to complain about. Both curves are nearly identical. Even the average heart rate only differs by about half a beat per minute from the chest straps. So overall, the Enduro 3 was definitely very accurate and reliable for me while running. And that's not just for this session, but all of my runs. The same goes for cycling. Here the heart rate fluctuates more than with running, but even so, the watch's curve is almost identical to that of the chest strap. This result is great again, with the average heart rate only differing by 0.37 beats per minute from the chest strap, which is about as good as it gets. For strength training, it was like with almost all watches. Sometimes heart rate spikes were well detected and other times not at all. This particular recording is fine, but I wouldn't call it great. This was true for all of my strength training sessions, so for sports that are harder to track, I would use a chest strap, which of course you can connect to the watch. Alright, so what can we conclude about the new Garmin Enduro 3? I have already hinted at my personal conclusion throughout this video. Simply put, the Enduro 3 is essentially the 51mm MIP version of the Fenix 8 without the hardware innovations like the diving features, microphone and speaker, but with even better battery life and a price tag that is $300 lower. You could also say that it is a Fenix 7X Pro with new software, meaning mainly a new, more organized menu structure and also better battery life. Either way, if you like the Fenix 8 but don't plan to use its diving features or voice assistance and can live without an AMOLED display, then the Enduro 3 is the perfect choice for you. Personally, for me, for example, it is the better Fenix 8, because I can do without all of its hardware innovations, I get better battery life and I can still save $300. So even if the Enduro 3 might be somewhat overshadowed by its bigger brother, the Fenix 8, it might just be the most exciting sports watch innovation we've seen from Garmin this year. But let me know in the comment section down below what you think about the Garmin Enduro 3. If you found this video helpful or interesting, you could really support me and my work here by giving this video a quick thumbs up. And if you don't want to miss any more videos in the future, you should definitely subscribe to this channel. But for now, thanks a lot for watching and see you next time.